Welcome, everyone. Okay, I heard myself there, but that's fine. So this is a very interesting new game. It's in beta. I played a little bit of it the other night. I played Edge of Darkness, I believe, and it was pretty cool. Not gonna lie, gave me the willies just a little bit, and I figured now that it is almost midnight in my area, I figured why not best to have a little late night stream where I get the pants scared out of me by an old one. When this video gets uploaded as a VOD on my other channel, I will have all the information on this new game in the description. So make sure you check it out. Or you can just go to the Play Store and find it yourself. I am going to play this game with the lights on because I don't want to get too scared. It's not that scary, but yeah. Okay, so I did Edge of Darkness, which I had a lot of fun with. I'm thinking Alone Against the Flames. That seems about legit. So, Gavin Inglis, Sam Riordan, your visit to Emberhead is unexpected, but just in time for the annual festival. I have 3 trials left. The trials reset every day, so you can play 3 games in one day. Kind of hope they have a couple updates where they include more stories. But like I said, this is just early beta, so it do be whatever. So, let's begin, shall we? Yes. Alright. And, select your character. Has an interesting array. The last time I played, I was Bobby, with the last name that I don't know how to pronounce because I'm a dumbass. But Dr. Loretta, Antiquarian. Bobby seems to be the best in my personal opinion because detective. I like that. I feel safe. Nathaniel, librarian. Samantha, policewoman. I mean, that's also the next best guess I can imagine. Then Lila and Charles. But, you know what? I'm going to keep to the tried and true Bobby since he survived the last encounter with a Cthulhu monster. And then when you click that, it gives you a little bit of a biography on him. And as you can see up at the top, there's his wits and his conversation rates and I guess his strength, whatever. I don't know what they mean, but let's just go for it, shall we? Loading adventure. Okay. The motor coach is late. Hey Greg, welcome to the stream. You slump against the back of the bus. Stops wooden bench. It's been nearly an hour and the sun is starting to rise higher in the sky. You groan, pull a gray fedora down over your eyes as far as it will go. Your headache is bad enough already. You don't need the bright morning light making it any worse. For the 100th time, you reconsider your decision to move up north to Arkham. Sure, the business will be better for a private investigator like yourself, but is it worth it? All the travel, the upheaval, the bright lights and bustling of the big city, the people here in your hometown all look at you funny. There are only a couple hundred of them. How will you handle hundreds of thousands? Before you can finish talking yourself out of it, a gray small motor coach approaches and rumbles to a stop. Hey, Brenda. The man who steps out is in his 40s, maybe 43 or 44, and is dressed in a stained shirt with the bus company's emblem. Even as he turns towards you, he's rolling a cigarette between his yellowed fingers. His attitude is casual, almost as if bored with his surroundings, but his eyes are sharp in their dark sockets. Too sharp for his outwardly lax demeanor. Where to, he asks, and pulls out a matchbox. The driver looks over your ticket with a flinty gaze, then pulls back and nods. Luggage racks in the back, he says, and climbs back into the bus. He slides behind the wheel and flicks his cigarette out the window. The coach's engine coughs into life. You hurry to stow your luggage and settle into one of the empty seats. With mixed emotions, you watch from the window as the tired avenues of the small town slip behind you, receding into the distance. Just a few days' travel, and you'll be making a fresh start in Arkham. The coach putters through the countryside. At first, the interior is stifling, and your stomach lurches with every bend in the road. But the driver soon opens his window, and by switching seats, you find a spot where the breeze hits your face. You slowly relax into the journey, observing the quaint little hamlets that the coach serves as they pass by. You have just begun to doze when the driver's desperate yell awakens you. Try to keep your balance. Let's spin. Yes. Skill check. And this is one of the other features in this text adventure game. It also factors in what can happen. The driver spins the wheel to avoid a parked tractor, plunging the motor coach off the road. You're thrown sideways towards the aisle. You grab hold of the seat in front just in time to prevent a painful fall. The coach stops with a thump. What just happened? Oh, thanks for the host, man. You grab hold of the seat in front just in time to... I was here. I read this already. You look out the window and see a Fordson tractor stopped in the road. Your driver leaps out of the cab, unleashing a string of curses at the farmer. Catch your breath. The driver climbs back into the cab, grumbling about the tractor parked in the road. Sorry, he says, all them fields and he has to pick the road to park. You all right? Question is asked casually, and the driver doesn't wait for an answer before starting the coach up again. He backs the coach up a little and threads it around the tractor, glaring at the farmer. You resume your journey. The driver takes the curves with more caution than before. He glances over his shoulder at you a couple times. Sorry about before, he says. That fellow was dumber than a hog. I'm Silas. The accident was at least as much Silas's fault as the farmer's, but it doesn't seem shrewd to antagonize a man while he is driving you through the middle of nowhere. The coach turns onto a narrower road, which heaves uphill through woodland. Silas becomes chatty. Going to Arkham, eh? Can't say I ever heard of the place. Went to Boston once, didn't like it. Too much hustle and bustle. You got family there? Special someone waiting? The afternoon is wearing on. You see no harm in confiding in Silas about your new life. P.I., huh? Silas sounds amused. No wonder you're moving to the big city. Can't imagine there was much work for you in a tiny town like that. Everybody knows everybody in small towns. No real mysteries to solve there, usually. The motor coach rattles on through the hills, and Silas lapses into silence. The sky darkens behind you, pinks tinting the clouds as the sun descends. Finally, a welcome sight comes into view, a settlement on the crest of a hill. You can tell from the first glance that it isn't Ossipee, the first planned stop on this leg of your journey, but perhaps you can persuade Silas to make a stop anyway. Minutes later, a harsh stuttering from the engine erupts your reverie. Silas frowns and rattles the gear stick. The motor coach falters in its ascent. Silas utters a curse you don't recognize and grinds his teeth, struggling at the wheel. You seem to inch up the hill until you reach the first buildings, low dwellings constructed from rough red stone. Silas wrestles the coach into a small bay off the road and makes for the engine compartment. Disembark. Silas scowls down at the engine, wiping his hands on a rag. I ain't sure what's wrong. Might be the oil pressure. Might be something knocked off kilter when we took that spill. Can't do much until the engine cools neither. And with the light failing, I reckon we'll be here through the night. Silas gestures to the buildings around you. This here's Emberhead, miles from any place. I only come through twice a week, but the folks here are good people. Maid Ledbetter keeps the spare room. She'll look after you. Up that alley, turn right, first house on the left. He scratches his cheek, looks again into the engine compartment, and spits on the ground. Meet me back here at 8 in the morning, and we'll see how we stand. Consider the situation. Do a skill check. This is rough. Oh. The grinding noises you heard could, of course, indicate engine trouble, but they also seem consistent with bad gear selection and incorrect declutching. It seems highly unlikely that an experienced coast driver would suddenly get this wrong, even after a long day's drive. If this is a ruse to make you spend your time and money in a local shop, Silas will be disappointed with your purchasing power. Confront Silas or head to May Letterbetters. What do you guys think? Should we confront Silas or head to May Ledbetter's? I'll let the stream catch up. This music that goes along with this, I gotta say, it's pretty freaky. I don't know if you guys can hear it, but I'm actually spooked. Oh man, you should download it. It's on the Play Store. It's actually really it's really fun. I played the Edge of Darkness story and it was a lot of fun. You know what? Yeah. I'll just confront Silas. You confront Silas with your suspicions. His brow darkens and he shows a mouthful of twisted teeth. Ain't that just like you city types, he spits, thinking the worst of a man after he's gone out his way to attend to your comfort. He marches off into the darkness, raging. That could have gone better. Go to May Letterbetters. I can't even say the last name. You drag your cases between the sullen buildings. You feel surprisingly weary, considering you have spent all day sitting down. Silas's directions lead you to a modest dwelling with a slate roof. A nameplate reads Ledbetter, and underneath, a sign in neat copperplate proclaims lodging room. The lane around you is gloomy, but a lamp flickers in the window. Hopefully this May Ledbetter will take you in. You'd rather not begin your new life by sleeping in the street. Knock on the door. After a moment, you hear footsteps inside the house. A bolt is drawn back, and the wooden door swings open. A figure with pinned-back dark hair and a well-worn house dress peers at you. Her gaze takes in your traveling suit and your cases. Her voice has a slight Irish lilt. Hello, should I take it as you're looking for a room for the night? Ask about her rates. Oh, you'll find them very reasonable, she says. You look tired. I'm May. Come inside and we'll talk over a cup of tea. The Ledbetter house feels cramped, with a low ceiling and simple fittings, but it is well kept and a cheerful fire crackles in the grate. The aroma of the tea is soothing, and the cup warms your fingers. Have you come to Emberhead for the festival? Asks May. Say yes, explain your situation. Honestly, getting right down to the business end of things served me well in the first time I played this, so I'm just going to get down to business. May shakes her head, and you glimpse a moment of deep-seated anger in her green eyes. He always drives too fast, thinks the road is made for him, and him alone. He hit a mare some years back. That was a terrible thing. You should have seen the state of the coach. You'd be surprised at the damage done. You're not sure you would be surprised after today's near miss, but May's expression is far away. With living here, though, we can't afford to antagonize a man, Mary says. Not Mary. He's about the only link we have to the world at large, and he's not a bad soul at heart. I suppose that going the same route for 15 years makes a man careless. You have to forgive him. May goes silent for a long moment, then her eyes flip back to you. But you didn't come here to listen to me blather, and you must be hungry. I can rustle you up a bit of stew. How would that be? The room May leads you to is small but comfortable, and the stew she offers is dark and hearty. After dinner, you have a couple of hours before your usual bedtime. Keep chatting, walk around town, turn in early. How about keep chatting? May talks about life in Emberhead. In her letters, my sister always asks if I'm not bored living in such a small place. She lives in New York, and she writes about how frightened she is to walk home at night. I ask you. You mention your hopes for a new life in Arkham. May doesn't seem to hear you. Small place here, yes, but that means we have real community. Everybody's face is known. Everybody works together. Nobody is excluded. Except those who choose to exclude themselves, of course. I couldn't live anywhere else now. Put her at ease. Aww. As the hour wears on, you are amused to hear May transform into a sort of tired tourist guide. Of course, the views from here are spectacular on a good day, a clear view all the way around. If you're a painter, you'll be right at home. If your tastes run more to the artisan, there are workshops on Silbury Street. Now, if you're looking for freshly baked bread, you let May continue until she begins to yawn. Would you listen to me yapping? Time to turn in. As you head to your room, you hear it clunk behind you. You look over your shoulder, but all you can see is a wooden door securely closed. May Tutts, the young lady of the house, shall have been listening to us. Ruth, come and greet our guests. There is a short pause, then the door creaks open. Two white eyes peer at you from the gap, between tousled hair and a rough nightgown. Say hello. The eyes blink. Pleased to meet you. The door closes again. My daughter Ruth, May says, pride evident in her voice. 10 years this summer. She's a delight and a torment all in one. Don't worry, she sleeps in with me. She'll not disturb you. Good night now. You retire to your room. The silence outside is strange after living in a town for so long, but you soon drop off. You dream of fire in the grate, coruscating colors shimmering through the dancing tongues of flame. At first they are tiny, almost microscopic, but they grow and grow until a kaleidoscope inferno spills from the fireplace, spreading across the floor, up the sheets. You wake with a start. Daylight glints through the curtains. You get up and examine the grate, blinking the sleep from your eyes. The fireplace is empty and cold. It doesn't take you long to freshen up and collect your things. The idea of getting back on the road to your new life is more than enough to put a spring in your step. May cooks a hearty breakfast and sends you off with wishes you the best for your new career in Arkham. Go meet Silas. Hopefully, Silas has repaired the motor coach and you can resume your long journey. A sourpuss he might be, but the old driver seemed to understand his vehicle well enough. You pause to check your watch, still 20 minutes early, and round the final corner. The motor coach is gone. You put your bags down and search the area. Trekking up and down slopes and around corners, you search and wait. 8 o'clock comes and goes. A passing villager notices your bags. Looking for the bus? I heard him take off at first light. He's due back in 3 or 4 days. If you need a place to stay, May Ledbetter rents a room. The man raises his hat to you and strolls on into the village. You curse Silas under your breath. Perhaps he went for parts, but you wonder if the old goat has stranded you here on purpose. This is spooky. I'm already getting terrible vibes. Cthulhu, Cloud, is coming. We need the build-up. This is the build-up. This is the spook build-up. Things are starting to get good. May is doing laundry and looks surprised to see you again. Forgot something? When you explain the situation, she offers to store your bags while you try to arrange alternative transport. Ask for leads. Nobody here has anything like a car. She strokes her chin and narrows her eyes. Maybe you can find somebody with a horse and a cart for your bags. I could ask around later. Try Mr. Winters at the village hall. He'll know if anyone will. Or ask among the artisans. Their workshops are first left on Silbury Street. She reaches over and squeezes your wrist. Don't worry. I won't see you sleeping in the street. Money or no money. Oh, shut up, Cloud. Explore the village. You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. There isn't much to see, but there is a general store, village hall, and the artisan's courtyard catch your attention. Go to the general store, go to the village hall, go see the artisans. Choices of a text-based game. Just go to the village hall. The village hall backs against a cliff at the east end of Silbury Street. It's the largest building you've seen so far in Emberhead. It is, however, locked and shuttered. One of the windows is bricked up, back at the main door. You can see no posted opening hours. Mr. Winters doesn't open up mornings this time of year, says a gray-garbed woman passing by. Best come back this afternoon. You wander the streets of Emberhead without any particular destination in mind. The village itself takes less than 5 minutes to cross from edge to edge. You could go explore the winding cliffside road to the east, the looming metal structure of the beacon, or the half-ruined church. I do not do good with choices this time, say. But let's go to the eastern road. The air is fresh, and the walk down to the lower ridge is invigorating. Further down, the road skirts the edge of the ridge and descends. There are a few scattered hovels here, with signs of habitation. As you examine them, a door opens, and an older man steps out. He wears a bedraggled suit, but carries a piece of cloth, which he tosses over his head like a hood. As he does this, he sees you and freezes. Keep his attention. What? I didn't even press anything. The strange man breaks into a run, fleeing from you along the ridge. His gait is lopsided, but his movements have a maniacal intensity. Let's follow him. You break from the road and pursue the man, feeling wild grass snatch at your feet. He sprints around the ridge, attempting to elude you by ducking behind the very rocks that support the metal structure above. Keep up. You draw close to the man. He glares over his shoulder and sees you. Damn you, he spits and slows down. Can't you leave a fellow be? You assure him you mean him no harm. His eyes, the only things visible in the shadow of his hood, look you over. He nods. We can't talk here, he says. Follow me. In actuality, I wouldn't follow him. You follow the man around the outcrop. He glances up, then steps between two rocks and vanishes. Closer inspection reveals a narrow channel leading into the cliff. There is just enough light to see a small, natural chamber within. You will be uncomfortably close to this man if you go inside. Well, I mean, we've come this far, right? Let's go inside. With wary steps, you squeeze between rocky outcrops and enter the concealed chamber, almost banging your head on the low ceiling. The man settles back against the wall and watches until you draw close. Then he slides back his hood. Hold back a scream. Wait, what's going on? I'm scared. Oh no. Some of the man's face remains a strip from the side of his jaw to his right eye socket is healthy and pale, if aged. But the left side is consumed by angry scar tissue. One eye droops, hooded by melted flesh, and the nostril on that side is pulled open to form a gaping hole. The man studies your reaction with his one good eye. Name's Arbogast. Willard Arbogast. Guess I don't need to ask what brings you to Emberhead. I'm going to tell him the truth. That swollen mouth gives a little twist downwards. Son of a devil has rat's blood. His fingers tighten into a fist. His anger doesn't seem aimed at you, but it still leaves you a little on edge. Arbogast fixes you with a lopsided yet intense stare. You seek me out, eh? He looks up at the cave ceiling. Which one of them told you about me? Never mind. It don't matter. Truth is, they fear what I know. They'd never come at me direct. Don't want to end up like old Arbogast. He giggles. The high-pitched sound is all more grotesque coming from those bloated lips. Abruptly, his gaze turns to iron. Emberhead died 40 years ago, shattered by flame, consumed by the stars themselves. The ancient hill was cleansed by the inferno, and from the blackened ground came new life, as is the way of all things. The Abenaki knew. Arbogast wipes his nose on his sleeve, except none of that happened. Arbogast's voice rises to a fever pitch. The flames were turned away, the necessary death postponed a year, and a year again. And now those up there, he stabs a scrawny finger at the ceiling, think themselves saviors of the village. They can defy the great old ones. I can't pronounce this. He shakes his head to the strange ones. Their lives matter less than the blink of an eye. A fierce intelligence burns in his gaze, but you suspect Arbogast may be quite insane. Ask about the Abenaki, ask about the old ones, ask about the villagers. Feel like ask about the old ones? A smile of sickly rapture comes over Arbogast's sacred, scarred features. The great old ones, the windwalker Cthulhu, the crawling chaos, like the rest of them, spread like gnats upon the earth. You think your actions matter, yes? Your existence matters. He shakes his head. We are the dust that shifts in the breeze, the motes that drift in the last rays of the sun. You are nothing. We are nothing. He gathers himself into silence. Just when you think the sermon is over, he stirs. Here you are closest to the living flame, not that belching green column beloved of Kingsport. I mean it which preceded all life on earth, it which lit the void while our world was formed. It has infinite fuel, infinite patience. It will consume all. Arbogast runs a hand through his hair. A wide strip is missing on the left side, displaced by scar tissue. He climbs to his feet. Twisted pariah, Clue found. Arbogast pauses in the shadows. There's something about you, something the previous ones never had. Perhaps you can make it through. If you want to hear more, meet me again after dark, 9 o'clock, the graveyard on the other side. He lifts a gnarled finger. Don't be followed, else I won't be there. Arbogast wipes his nose on his sleeve again. Go now, their eyes are on me. And stranger, don't try to run. You'll never make it. You emerge into the sunlight, blinking and more than a little shaken. Your morning exertions have left you hungry. You roam the streets of Emberhead looking for sustenance. It is beginning to look like you will have to get supplies from the general store when Maid Ledbetter comes down the street with a girl trailing in her wake. This must be Ruth. As she notices you, she races past her mother and approaches you with a smile. This is a different Ruth from the shy creature of last night. Greet her. As she reaches you, she stops and stretches her arms up in celebration. She looks up into your eyes. Abruptly, the smile drops from her face. She looks several years older. Get out before the festival, she hisses. Get out! She blinks hard, then scuttles back towards her mother. May approaches, wrapping an arm around her daughter's shoulders. She smiles. How are you getting on? Have you found transport? Startled, you explain the frustrations of the situation. I try Mr. Winters in the village hall. He's always in during the afternoon. You'll be hungry by now, Help yourself to any food in the house. The door's not locked. You glance at Ruth, where she has squirreled herself behind her mother's leg. Her eyes implore you to silence. Ask Ruth what she meant. Ask May what Ruth meant. Go back to the house. Ask May. You ask May why Ruth wants you to leave town. She gives her daughter a hard stare. Ruth looks at the ground. May says, Ruth doesn't like it when we have guests in the house, but she needs to learn that we don't always get what we want in life. Sometimes we have to do things we might not best like, but they're necessary, all the same. May shakes her head at you and then nods back in the direction of the house. You catch a hint of emotion in those green eyes. You take your leave of the Ledbetters and head towards their house. In the low kitchen, you make a meal from stodgy bread and leftover stew. There are still about 5 hours of daylight remaining. You can take some provisions and the bare essentials from your luggage and set out in the hope of reaching another settlement before dark, or you can ask advice from this Mr. Winters. We'll talk to Mr. Winters. You walk along Silbury Street towards the village hall, conscious of the oppressive black metal structure framed at the end of the road. The shutters of the hall are open and some windows left ajar. There is no knocker, but a little bell over the entrance tinkles as you push the front door. Inside, a sturdy door to your right is marked private. To your left, an opening leads through to a bright room. Benches line the walls, and there are 2 notice boards mounted between the windows. Let's read the notice boards for kicks. One notice board appears to be for the adults of the community and one for the children. The former looks neglected, featuring handwritten advertisements for household items and a yellow note about telegraph pricing. The children's notice board has a schedule for weekly creech services and some paintings obviously done by the children themselves. Most are incoherent, though colorful. One shows what looks like a giant bird attacking Emberhead. Perhaps this particular artist has not yet mastered the subtleties of scale. Look closely. As the afternoon sun hits the floor, you notice something curious. The boards under the windows are newer than the boards in the center of the room. The window frames also show signs of having been replaced in the recent past. Perhaps rain leaked in and rotted the wood. The door scrapes behind you. A middle-aged, bespectacled gentleman appears in the doorway. May I help you? You explain you are visiting on May Ledbetter's recommendation. Ah, well, I'm Clyde Winters. I'm not sure I can help you, but would you care for some coffee? I'm partial to a cup in the afternoon. He gestures to the open door behind him. Step inside. You step through the door marked private. The room within stands in marked contrast to the public space outside. The room is compact, lined with shelves of books and file of clothes. One corner is reserved for a tiny pantry and what is presumably a water closet. You study Mr. Winters as he fills the percolator. His hair is oiled and neatly swept back. His suit is a sober affair and well tailored, even if the cut is a little old-fashioned. On the desk against the opposite wall, you notice what looks like a telegraph. Enjoy that drinking ASMR. The telegraph. Much as we value our isolation, we do need the link sometimes. You were hoping to send a message? I must apologize. The line has been down for 2 weeks. He sighs and drums his fingers once in a neat roll against the top of the desk. I reported the fault, but of course they're not so speedy when the problem lies in a rural area. I'm expecting a repair the day after next. I do appreciate how frustrating this must be. The coach is due in, 3 days? But I think he's going west. Perhaps you might engage a wagon? One of the farmers might. Tell him you've asked. Winters looks sympathetic but unsurprised by your frustrations. I tell you what, Winters pours you a steaming cup of coffee. The dark liquid smells rich and strong. When the repair crew arrives, I'll ask them to take you back with them. How would that be? They might want $1 or $2 to grease the wheels, but the day after tomorrow is less than ideal, but it's the first real glimmer of hope you've had. Thank him and leave. As the light fades, you return to the Light Better house and eat a light supper. May is unusually taciturn. Ruth's eyes flick to yours several times during the meal. There is an urgency there you cannot quite interpret. Afterwards, May ushers the girl into their room. You have been in Emberhead for barely 1 whole day and you already feel confined by it, both geographically and socially. This evening promises little relief. Let's go meet Arbogast. Arbogast is not at the appointed meeting place. You give him 10 minutes, but he doesn't show. You curse the old crank and head back towards May's house. Psst! A hand snakes from a doorway and grabs your arm. You jump at the sight of that half-face glimpsed in starlight. One of them's near, he whispers, watching. Come with me. Arbogast leads you across the thoroughfare, slipping between houses. The metal structure looms at the end of the street. Silent now, he says, but the beacon will come alive tomorrow night. He ushers you into a little alcove behind the village school. Arbogast glances behind you and then sits down. Again, you feel uncomfortable in proximity to that scared visage. One melted eyelid lifts. You don't have long. Understand this. I was the conduit, the interpreter. Before that fool Winters and his fancy words, the things which come to Emberhead care not for words. Those idiots think this is a ritual of sacrifice. He spits on the grass. It is a ritual of control. They know the words, but they do not comprehend the forces they call. He sniffs and sits back. You open your mouth to speak, and he holds up a hand. No, you have no time for more questions. I will teach you how to end it. In the moment when all is lost, you can return this hill to the earth, to the death that came 40 years ago. I have tried it myself, but his head sags. I no longer have the concentration. The chant is simple. The words I can teach you, but you must perform it with a clarity of mind that I have lacked for years. Let's learn the chant. You feel very dislocated from reality as you sit on a cliff, top behind a school at night, learning a chant by rote from a madman. Arbogast is careful to teach you the chant in sections. He glances into the sky. Won't work right now. Cloud covering the star. But he still takes care not to pronounce the whole thing at once. It has a rhythmic beginning and various elaborations, but the core passage is repeated 3 times. I'm not going to try to pronounce that, but y'all see it on the screen. Practice the chant. Oh, thanks, Greg. I wish I had those nachos. Damn, hungry. In time, Arbogast listens to your recital and nods. Remember every sound, but never speak it if you have plans left on this earth. Arbogast learns back. It will make you one with the living. A black shape lunges from the dark. It wraps an arm around Arbogast's throat and drags him backward out of the clove. Stay sharp. Oh dear. Something smashes you on the temple. You reel back. You hear Arbogast yell and see the knife flash. 1, 2, 3 times, its shiny surface darkening with blood. Something strikes you again, and as you sink, flames leap from the ground, painting the night with infernal color. They pick out 3 dark figures. You wake with a jolt, rustling the blankets ready for attack. The Ledbetter guest room is quiet, painted with morning light. There is nobody here but you. You release the blankets and wait for your heart to stop hammering. The Ledbetter kitchen is empty, although bread and eggs have been laid out for your breakfast. There is a note from May explaining that she has taken Ruth out for a few hours. The day stretches out before you, empty as May's house. Let's check Arbogast's body. You feel skittish as you approach the spot where you and Arbogast were attacked. Your heart rabbits a quick pulse in your throat. At first, it seems there's nothing to see, no discarded weapons or figures lying unconscious. But upon closer examination, you find sticky, congealed patches and blackened lines in the grass. You find yourself staring overlong at the trace evidence of last night's struggle and shake your head to clear it. If the village had a police station, you could go there. But something tells you events have gone beyond that. Head back to town. Just get the feck out of there. You make a quiet circuit of the village, pausing in unobtrusive places to watch the villagers. Yawning locals stream back and forward along the roads, carrying bundles of split logs to the site of what you've heard referred to as the beacon. You see 2 figures already up in its superstructure, arranging the wood. The festival's bonfire will be most impressive. Maybe you should do some investigating while the villagers are distracted. Search May's bedroom. Despite her hospitality, you do not trust May Ledbetter. You return to her house quite openly. Where else would you go? Inside the dwelling is still empty. You rap on the bedroom door and wait. Silence. You ease it open. Cheap novels have been left scattered across a rough bedspread. You notice a raggedy old doll discarded down the side of the bed. I failed. Oh no, stream exploded. It's fine. See those emojis? You go through the Ledbetter's drawers. The only item of interest you find is a wedding photograph. May's husband was a wiry man with a square chin. Despite the formality of the pose, you can see the affection between them. You feel a pang of guilt at your intrusion. Also, May might return at any time. I'm pushing it, but I don't care. You notice scrapes on the floorboards corresponding to the legs of the bed. With effort, you slide the bed away. There is a rug spread beneath it, and beneath the rug, a trapdoor. You ease it open. The dark space beneath is some kind of cellar. Oh, dang. May's secret. The daylight barely offers enough illumination to see, but lighting a lantern during the day would be too suspicious. You squeeze beneath the floor without one. Suitcases. The secret room is full of suitcases, maybe 24 of them, piled in a heap. You check the luggage tags with shaking hands. You count 8 or 9 different names before you have to stop. Your throat is too tight to breathe. Scrambling back up to the bedroom, you close the trapdoor with trembling fingers, returning the bed to its place. All is as it was, except for you. Go back outside. I had this strange feeling. Insane. The strain is too much. A fragile human part of your mind breaks and gives way to insanity. So that's that then. You know, I had this strange feeling that May Ledbetter was kind of like behind. I don't know, it just seemed like there was too much of a determination the feeling of rush to keep our character Bobby in the town. I just had that feeling, that sinking feeling in my stomach. But that was fun. But yeah, this is early beta. You have 3 trials every day. The trials reset. You are allowed to use your trials to play any of these that are available. And this is just early beta. I'm hoping they add more stories. And I don't know their plans for this full time, but it was a lot of fun. I played Edge of Darkness. I did pretty good. I actually survived and made it through. Alone Against the Flames, I became insane. But that's fine. Mad Hatter, you know. So now the question is, how long have I been streaming for? Because I thought this would only be a short one. 43 minutes. I don't feel like ending it just yet. Should I maybe shoot for some D&D? Text-based game? D&D? Alright. I will kick out of this. And let's boot up D&D. Okay. You are a young wizard seeking treasure and glory. You are walking along a path in the forest one day's journey from Ring City, your beloved home. Night has just fallen, and you're thinking about how it might be a good idea to find a campsite. After all, you're in goblin territory, and it's dangerous to travel in the dark. Suddenly you smell something awful. Reginald, are you responsible for the outrageous smell? You ask the warrior striding ahead of you. Pray, no. I am always downward from my companions when I squeeze the bellows. Reginald answers. You realize that you have never encountered this stench before, and it is close. Perhaps it's your imagination. But is that muffled breathing you just heard? Shadow warning. It is an ambush, you shout. Startled, Reginald springs off the ground like a jackrabbit, his chain armor jingling. Just then, out of the brush rush several snarling goblins, their eyes glowing green in the murky darkness. They charge with their short spears. Oh, my mana decreased. With an arcane word and a flourish in one hand, you send a bolt of fire into the leader of the charge, who drops to the ground, thrashing in flames. Reginald hacks down another with the sword. The remaining 3 run away, whooping and yipping. Their cries are joined by others from the dark forest all around you. Many calls from far, too many goblins to fight toe to toe. It's a hunting part, probably tracking wild game. We humans are a delicacy. Much better than mutton, Reginald says. You regard the 2 dead goblins on the ground. Dead goblins are worth 10 gold pieces per head in the city. Luckily, you don't need to carry their heads around. The city authorities will accept their left ears. Cut off the ears. Get the ears, you exclaim as you pull out your razor-sharp dagger from your belt. For a second, your sometimes slow-witted warrior sidekick doesn't understand, but as you start sawing away at the first ear, he gets the idea and fishes out his own dagger. Soon you have a bloody goblin ear stuffed into your pocket, and Reginald has one of his own. Nasty? Very. However, 10 gold pieces are nearly 6 months of wages to a common laborer, so you're willing to take the hit. Whoa. What now? Reginald asked. Certainly there are excellent places to hide in the forest, if we can just make it until morning. True, the goblins may have dogs, and their own sense of smell is keen, you say. We might climb a tree, then. That would at least be defensible, Reginald suggests. You wish to be treed like a fox with goblins barking underneath? If you wish a position that is both defensible and allows some freedom of movement, we should hasten to Castle Inverness. It is near, and we could fortify ourselves behind those walls, Reginald says. You frown. It is a fortress, yes, but inhabited by what? Gods know what manner of creatures may have taken up residence in that ruin over the years. Let's go to the garrison in the ruined walls. Sought it. Castle Inverness is near. Let us take refuge behind those stone walls, you say. Goblin hunting calls echo from all around in the forest as the two of you dash up the path 100 meters or so, where you find a fork in the road. The path to the right appears to be seldom used since it is nearly overgrown. The path to the left is clear. You think you see firelight down that way. Could this fire belong to the goblins? Or if you're lucky, is it the campfire of another friendly adventuring party? What do? Castle. Never question a wizard, man. Enough foolishness. The castle Inverness and her blessed walls, you proclaim. Reginald raises his fist. Yes, may their puny bodies break against our stone defenses. After a minute of stumbling down what is best described as a game trail, you see the shadowy husk of the ruin and the moonlight ahead. Unfortunately, the battle cries of your pursuers are closer than ever, and when you look back over your shoulder, you see glowing eyes. The two of you turn on a burst of speed, and soon the outer wall of the castle looms before you. It is about 10 feet high and crumbling. You realize with horror that there are no holes on this side that are large enough to fit through. Meanwhile, Reginald, a faster runner than yourself, has disappeared around the north corner of the wall. A short spear whistles past your head. You look back and see at least 4 of the little beasts. What do? Follow Reginald, jump the wall spell, turn and blast them. How much mana do I got? 12? Jump the wall spell. You stay your course toward the wall, and with an arcane... Oh, hush, Claude. You stay your course toward the wall, and with an arcane word, you leap into the air. Up you go, like a giant grasshopper, over the top. You've made it, but now you're falling down into the castle courtyard. You hit the ground hard, but you roll with it. Fortunately, the neglected courtyard grass is nearly as tall as you are and acts as a cushion. There's a ladder nearby that you climb to get up to the battlements. There are 4 goblins at the base of the wall, chattering angrily. One of them begins climbing up the rotten rock. You decide this is a good place to take a stand. There's a lot of loose rock at the top of the wall. You're not particularly strong, thanks to your inactive life as a wizard. However, you expect you could push a few large rocks down upon this climber. On the other hand, they are all out in the open, and your spells would certainly be effective now. What do? Fry them all. Achievement unlocked, crushing move. Oh, baby. You lean down and call forth the magical power within you. From your outstretched fingers erupts the jet of flame that you play first over the climber and then over the others standing below. They barely have time to scream, for there are no more than 4 smoldering corpses on the ground below. Fine mess you made of them, Reginald's voice startles you. He now stands beside you, grinning down on the carnage. You must have found another way in. I loathe goblins, you say. As do all good men, you have struck terror into their advance party, but they will call for reinforcements. We have the wall. Can we hold it, Reginald? We could go in. You point to the castle. Keep beyond the courtyard. The castle is 3 stories tall, or at least it had been before the top layer partially collapsed. The second story is barely any better. The fortress is as lifeless and still as a painting. Nevertheless, you wonder if anyone is looking back at you from the dark windows and arrow slits of the ruin. Enter the castle. The achievement was a power move, Cloud. What are you talking about? 2 are not enough to defend all 4 walls. Away to the keep, you shout. You run across the courtyard and open the large wooden double doors, which shriek on rusty hinges. Unlocked. This may be a trap, my friend. We best be on our guard, Reginald says. Once inside, Reginald slams and bars the doors. The entrance chamber is large with a high vaulted ceiling. The stone walls are cracked and flaking. The ground is strewn with loose rubble. The air is stale. Aside from the double doors behind you, there are closed wooden doors on the north, east, and west walls. Near the north door, there is a stairway going up, but it is blocked by rubble. It is not long before the front doors begin to rattle violently. through a nearby arrow slit. You can see glowing eyes and the glint of axes chopping away at the door. You're not sure how long the barred portal will hold them. Reginald wants to hide deeper in the castle. On the other hand, this place smells of death. It might be prudent to take a few seconds to investigate the rooms and doors. Oh, let's search the rooms and doors. You motion to Reginald to check the east door. You inspect the ground and see there has been traffic through here. Some of the tracks on the dusty floor appear to be from human-sized shoes or boots, while others appear to be from bare feet, far too large to be from men. None of the tracks appeared to belong to goblins. Listening, you can't hear anything over the goblins thumping and screaming outside. You direct the light of your lantern at the northern door and are about to turn around the eastern door when something catches your attention. Was that an eye, you wonder? You think you caught a glimpse of a glistening eyeball through a rotting hole in the northern door. Casually, as though just taking another look around, you sweep your lantern light over the door again, pausing for just an instant at that spot. Yes, that was an eye. You're being watched, and although your glimpse of it was fleeting, you could tell the eye did not belong to a human. The white of the orb is pink with blood, while the retina is pitch black and large. You would like to get a better look at the creature. There is a minor smell you normally use to magically open doors from a distance. You find it tedious opening doors yourself. As long as the door is unlocked, you could use this lazy wizard spell to open the eye door without being too close. On the other hand, that may frighten or anger whomever that eye belongs to. Perhaps you should just talk to it. Maybe you can join forces against the goblins. Alternatively, you might be able to hurl a bolt of fire through that eye hole. Not an easy shot, but you have the element of surprise. Finally, there's a running option, a choice that has been keeping wizards alive for thousands of years. I feel like this game is downplaying wizards, not gonna lie. Well, let's shoot the eye hole. Amazingly, you make the shot. Unfortunately, the possessor of the eye must have seen you look right at it as you wound up for the spell. The eye disappears just before your bolt of fire spatters around and through the hole. Crack! The door explodes open. The light of your lantern streams into the doorway to reveal a huge monster. A blackened spot on the shoulder is evidence of where your firebolt struck. He holds a massive spiked club in one hand and a melon-sized rock in the other. He steps into the room. Neville's tongue! It's an ogre! Reginald shouts. The ogre slams his club against Reginald's shield, sending him curling into another wall. See, it's Shrek! Shrek is here, guys, okay? Just then, the front doors of the castle burst open. Like a tidal wave crashing onto the beach, a heap of goblins falls into the room, creatures one on top of another. A chorus of glee erupts from their fanged mouths. Arrows and spears fly over and between the goblins in front. Unfortunately, you are struck by a spear. Luckily, it's only a flesh wound. Meanwhile, the ogre roars in rage, throwing his rock at the first goblin and striking it in the chest with such a nasty crunching sound that you know the goblin will never get up. Reginald and you nearly collide in your haste through the eastern portal. Once through, you slam the door closed. From the entrance chamber you just left come goblin yips of triumph, which then turn into screams of terror that are immediately drowned out by an earth-shaking snarl. Next is the sharp slapping of flesh against flesh and the wet sound of bodies ripping apart. You run from one room to the next. The ogre is not much of a housekeeper. The castle is full of giant cobwebs and broken furniture. Finally, you enter a larger room, a dining room, as evidenced by a long wooden table and two fireplaces. You motion to Reginald to stop, and you both listen. Faintly, you can hear the far-off sounds of battle from behind you. Can't leave that way, you think. Just then you hear something else. Labored breathing. And is that crying? Investigate the sound. For glory and the loot, you think to yourself as you take the lead. You quickly realize that the sound seems to be coming from this very room. You creep over to the other end of the dining hall and see a young woman sitting on the ground, chained to a fireplace, rocking back and forth and sobbing. Her cries break off, and she looks up at you with an expression of fear that quickly turns to surprise. Who are you? She asks. You tell her your names and that you are here to smite evil while making your fortunes. This brings a smile to her face. A pretty smile, you suspect. although it's hard to tell under all the dirt smudged on her face. She gives her name as Siba and says there is a key to her chains on the table. Sure enough, beside cracked and dusty china is a small brass key. As you set about unlocking her, she tells you that she is a merchant's daughter who was traveling with her father's trade caravan when it was attacked by a mighty ogre with a small band of priests of an evil god wearing dark cloaks. Those of her party were not killed in the initial attack were taken prisoner and chained up in this room. One by one, they were taken away by the priests, never to return. They took my father, Cybros sniffs. No doubt he is slain, but I must try to find him. Will you help me? You ask her if she has any idea where her father or the others might be, but she knows little of the rest of the castle. Reginald takes you aside and says, ought we to take her to safety and then look for her father on our own? She would be in danger traveling with us. You agree that having some half-starved, unarmed merchant's daughter tripping along behind you will only get her killed. But where is safety? Last time you checked, the courtyard was crawling with goblins, and according to her father, the castle residents are not very good hosts. What do you do? Escort her out, hide her, and move on? Send her on her way? Chain her back up for now. Let's escort her out of Shrek's house. Achievement unlocked. Manners matter. Your mother taught you well. Drinking ASMR. Saiba seems like a nice enough young woman, but as a merchant's daughter, she is not a very good addition to the adventuring party, and so you are eager to escort her out of the castle as quickly as possible. Between Reginald's clinking chainmail armor, and Chiba's incessant sniffling and muttering about her father, the three of you are not the stealthy party you wish to be. After some searching, you find a hole in the wall of the castle large enough for a human to fit through. Reginald gives you a boost up to the hole, and you look out. Neville's tongue, you curse in your head. Glowing eyes dot the courtyard outside. You get down and tell the others the bad news. Well, I'm glad you are, Greg. As you're describing what you saw, there's a sudden jolt of numbing cold in your back. You cry out in pain and turn to see a cloaked man barely visible in the light cast by the shuttered lantern in his hand. He is pointing at you with his other hand. Perhaps this is one of the evil priests Chiba spoke of. As you slump back against the wall, Chiba cowers in the corner. Reginald unsheathes his sword and charges. The cloaked man runs. By the time you recover from the pain and stand up, Reginald is walking briskly back into the chamber. "That sneaky devil eluded me," he says, and then curses. "I would bet my last copper he is off gathering allies to come back for us. We must move on," you say. As you hasten away from that wing of the ruin, the three of you agree Chiba should hide for now. There are a ton of hiding places in this ruin. You find a nice pile of rubble for her to hide behind, several rooms away. Stay still and quiet here. We will return. Well, if we do not return by morning, escape as best you can, you instruct her. Clever, Reginald says as you leave her. If our abductors find her missing, they will not expect her to remain in the castle. With luck, they will leave the castle altogether to search. And we can explore unhindered, you say with a smile. The castle is quiet and dark. You walk into a wide hallway that branches in two directions. One direction is covered in a thick layer of dust, while the other is covered in footprints. You decide that it would be wise to get a lay of the land before looking for any trouble. Despite the faint smell of rotting flesh from the dusty hall, you decide that it would be wise to go this way first. Less monsters, more treasure, or at least you hope. You have kept your lantern hooded, only allowing slivers of light out. After all, you want to remain stealthy. The way is dim, however, and you find yourself tripping over rubble and the odd piece of furniture. Ahead, there is a sense of rot, making you wonder if there might be something terrible hidden in the shadows. Too bad you can't see in the dark like a goblin. Since you appear to be entering a vacant part of the castle, you expect your light will not attract enemy attention. So you unhood your lantern to see your way clearly. As you move along, the cobwebs thicken and thicken. "Spider!" Reginald yelps. He He points his sword up at the ceiling. There is an enormous hairy spider suspended by a massive yarn-thick webs. The webs are dotted with small silky cocoons you suspect might encase rats or other small prey. With trembling fingers, Reginald sheathes his sword and unslings his bow. He takes in a big breath as he fits an arrow, draws back the string, and fires. The spider flails its long legs for a moment and then drops out of the web onto the floor with a thud. The two of you move on, taking extra care to watch the ceiling. Eventually, the two of you make your way to a spiral staircase going up. The upper regions of foul places like this are safer than the lower levels, says Reginald. Why in Neville's tongue would that be, you say? Reginald shrugs. Do not ask me what is in the mind of fiends and evil-hearted beasts. Perhaps they prefer the darkness and stagnant air below ground. You look up the stairway and sigh. Well, perhaps we can get a view of the courtyard and the goblins from up there. Reginald leads the way up the stairs, which lead into a small tower. Moonlight filters in through two windows. This room is finely furnished and otherwise much more nicely kept than the rest of the castle you've visited so far. There's a small bed, still made, on one end, an ornate table, and a bookshelf. On the table is an open fairy tale book and a gold-embossed hand mirror. Seeing loot, you forget about the windows and the potential view of the courtyard. You pick up the mirror to inspect it. Strange, says Reginald. There's no dust up here. And do you feel a draft? We are in a room, you say. Of course there's a draft. The glass in the windows is still intact, mutters Reginald. Gazing at your reflection in the mirror, you decide you look pretty good, all things considered. You brush cobwebs from your wavy brown hair, you smile. You're happy to see that your teeth are looking particularly good. Of course you deserve nice teeth, since unlike most people, you know you take care of them. Every morning you wipe your teeth with a cloth dipped into a cleaning concoction consisting of vinegar, salt, a little sand, and a small measure of your own urine. Gross. You are about to pull yourself away from the mirror and put it in your backpack when you glimpse a translucent skull with thin, wispy hair just behind you in the reflection. You spin around and see not a skull, but a young girl floating a few feet in the air, her pale face fixed on you. Reginald sees her too, as evidenced by him running down the stairway. How dare you touch what is mine, the ghostly girl shouts. You back up and reflexively put the mirror back on the table. You have heard tales of powerful ghosts that can suck the life right out of you. I wonder if this girl is one of those. Was she mean? What do? Run for the stairs, protection from evil spell. Get the fuck out of here. You decide that it's high time to do what most people do when meeting a ghost. Run. You point to the bookshelf behind the ghost. I probably could have done this better. And when she looks, you sprint for the door. That old distraction trick does not appear to work on the undead, for before you can reach the door, she loses an ear-splitting scream. The small bed slides across the room, slamming into your legs from behind and knocking you headlong down the stairway. You land hard, and blood streams into your vision. You get up and continue down the stairs, limping now. There is wailing and crashing above, but unfortunately the ghost does not follow beyond her room. You immediately find Reginald, for he had not strayed far. He begins asking you questions, but you put up your hand. Another time, you say. Later. So with this checkpoint reached, I'm gonna actually call this here because wow, lots of reading and and I hit my 1 hour mark streaming. Say Greg, if you're still here, do you mind do you want to play Minecraft or something? I don't know. Well, wait, my Minecraft phone is at 50%. So I'm trying to think what else we could do for a stream. Maybe Among Us? Does anybody want to play Among Us? Because I feel like streaming more. I'm like really tired from talking. Do you want to sound a general call for Among Us get together? I can end the stream and start up a new one. Oh yeah, I need a break from talking. Fuck. It was a lot of fun though, playing that Cthulhu. The first time when I played Cthulhu Chronicles by myself, I actually survived long enough to come across a monster, and it was like this big black bulgy multi red eye creature, and it was amazing. But I'm getting another message. But yeah, I'm gonna end the stream here. We're gonna kick up some Among Us, so we shall be back. Thank you everybody for stopping by. Cloud, you being a bored little Ewok, well, how about you join us for some Among Us, boy? See you all soon in the Discord.